Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Friday, end of the week, finally. Bitcoin is actually going up today a little bit, so that's a good sign. The miners were kind of mixed. We had some that were up, some that were down. 3/4 were up, and a quarter were down so far. So we'll take a look at obviously Bitcoin, see how it did today. We'll take a look at also the miners, see how they did. And we'll also take a look at CORZ Scientific for their July update that was provided today. We also have Argo, Hive, and Hut 8. I didn't have time to get into those yet, so I'll do the videos for those tomorrow. I gotta get going here in a little bit. I got something to do. So I just want to get at least core out, and then we'll also take a look at employment report, which was a lot better than a lot of people were expecting, which is also good and bad at the same time. So we got quite a few things to look at. And as always, not financial advice. You guys know the drill here. I'm invested in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And let's get into Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin is actually above right now the 200 weekly moving average, which is our red line here. It is roughly slightly above it, but it's at 22,990. Hopefully it can end there. We got about another 3 hours to go before the daily close on it till we switch over to the new day. And we obviously had a nice spike here a little bit today, but we've obviously fallen down. Hopefully it can maintain that above the 200 weekly moving average. We can continue going, possibly go up. On the 1 hour, it's looking like we still have obviously more room to run. We can see here on the 1 hour that we are definitely above the 200 weekly moving average, which is good. Ethereum is at 1,681 right now. Let's get rid of the 200 weekly. And we can see that it as well has more room to run like Bitcoin does. And it has obviously gone up here in the last hour, or not last hour, last couple hours, and then has fallen back down a little bit. It did go above 1,700, came back down below it to about 1,660, just a little bit below that, and has been coming back up off of it. So that's also a good sign there. I think it's gonna be a fun weekend. We'll see how it goes. So let's take a look at the miners here, see how they did on the day. And then we'll get into the jobs report and the CORZ Scientific report. So Annie was up 0.55% today to 71 cents. Argo was actually down 7.59 to 46 cents. Bit Digital was flat today, $1.55. Bitfarms was up 5.19% to $1.62. CleanSpark was up 6.15% to $4.66. CORZ was up nicely today, 10.65% to $2.91. DigiHost was down 4.19% to $1.24. DMG was down 1.99% to 28 cents. Hive was up 2.24% to $5.03. Hut 8 was up 3.48% to $2.38. Iris Energy was up 7% to $4.74. So nice day by them again. Hut 8 was up 3.48% to $2.38. Iris Energy was up 7% to $4.74. Luxfolio was down 19.3% to 10 cents. Marathon was up 5.59% to $14.17. Mawson was flat today to 85 cents. Riot, there we go. Riot was up 1.1% to $88.27, and Stronghold was flat today at $2.52 as well. So, like I said, kind of a mixed bag on the miners. For the most part, most of them were up at least, which was a good sign. And it looks like the market liked CORZ numbers as well. And let's get into the jobs report really quick, and we'll get into CORZ Scientific. So like I said, I still have Hive to go over, Hut 8, and Argo. So I'll probably do those videos tomorrow. We'll get into all those as well. So stay tuned for those. So job report came out today. Jobs added 528,000 more jobs in July. And the unemployment rate falls to 3.5%. That is good and bad at the same time. So non-farm payroll was up 528% versus estimated of 250,000. And that was 528,000 up percent, I think I said percentage possibly. Unemployment rate is now 3.5 versus 3.6 that was expected. And this is obviously, we're back to pre-pandemic levels, which is also good and bad, obviously, because we got high inflation right now. Average hourly earnings year over year rose 5.2% versus 4.9 expected. So here's the problem with such good data. With such good numbers by the employment numbers, the Fed, Jerome Powell, is going to have a hard time getting a soft landing for us with, obviously, the economy, with inflation. It's going to make it a lot more difficult for him. He's going to have to possibly go in September, possibly another 75 basis points, maybe even 100 basis points, just to kind of cool things off, because based on this, we're still hiring a lot more people than we should be, and slowing down the economy a little bit. and that's not happening. So we'll have to see, obviously, what the data comes back for CPI for July, which should be out next week. We'll cover that when that comes out. But obviously, this is good and bad at the same time because it might be a hard landing for us when we do finally, kind of bottom out here with this recession thing. And we might not be in a recession because of all these great numbers. So it's a catch-22 for Jerome Powell and the Fed, trying to get inflation under control. All right, so just wanted to point that out. Let's get into CORZ Scientific. So CORZ Scientific had just a tremendous job. They did a tremendous job in July getting miners installed, not only for their self-mining, but also for their hosting. And it's just insane how many miners are getting installed monthly here. So here are the details. Operating approximately 195,000 owned and co-located ASIC servers, produced 1,221 self-mined Bitcoin. They are the biggest here that we cover by a large margin. Mara was getting about half, but they've obviously fallen way behind right now. They also deployed their first Bitmain Antminer S19 XPs. At first I was kind of excited. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember them getting any orders for the S19 XPs. It turns out it was actually for one of their customers for their hosting solutions. So those are now getting installed as well. And here are the details. So they deployed 14,000 new ASIC servers in July. This is for both their own hosting and their own mining and hosting. That equates to about like 450 of these ASICs being installed every single day through 31 days. So basically you're working nonstop getting those installed. That's a lot. They gotta have a lot of people helping them out with that. Let me see here. So they're approximately at 19.3 exahash right now combined for the self-mining and hosting. Data centers, they just go into data centers owned and operated by a company in Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, and North Dakota continue to operate as expected, which is good. The company now has multiple facilities operational in Texas with significant future development planned for Texas and Oklahoma in 2022 as well, which is all good. This is just, we've already known this. Self-mining. So self-mining operations produced 1,221 Bitcoins in July. The company expanded its fleet of self-mining servers by 6% from approximately 103,000 to 109,000. That's still a huge amount of servers. And increased its hash rate by 6% from 10.3 exahash to 10.9 exahash. So basically they went up 600 petahash. And those would equate to the 100 terahash miners. Concurrently, substantial increases in curtailment activity due to extreme temperatures at multiple data centers limited production advances during the period. Obviously, the warm weather has had an effect on them. And we'll look at my numbers here that I have for them. And we got them at under 27 days, basically mining on the servers. The company expects to deploy approximately 60,000 additional self-mining ASIC servers before the end of 2022. So now we're in August. So we got August, September, October, November, December. So we got 5 more months left. They basically have to install, 12,000 miners a month, roughly. Am I doing that right? Yep, 12,000 miners per month right now. That's a lot. They did 6,000 this month, so that's double what they got to do. So it's basically 900 miners a day. That is an insane amount of miners getting installed. Co-location, we look at it a little bit, but we don't cover it that much. And the reason for that is because the profits on that, net profit after expenses, electricity, everything else, it's only like 3 or 5% net profit on that. It does amount to a couple million, but it's not substantial to what they are actually mining for themselves on it. So that's the reason why we don't do that. Bitcoin sales. So during the month of July, the company sold 1,975 Bitcoins at an average price of approximately $22,000 per Bitcoin for total proceeds of approximately $44 million. As of July 31, the company held 1,205 Bitcoins and approximately $83 million in cash on its balance sheet, which is good. Proceeds from the Bitcoin sales in July were primarily used to pay for capital investments related to increasing data center capacity, as well as payments due to Bitmain for 100 ASIC server order placed in 2021. The company has less than 10 million in ASIC server payments remaining. So this is good. This is key, excluding anticipated shipping and customs charges. So that might be another 25 to 30% of that. So another maybe 3 million or so. So we're looking at total 13 million. They got 83 in cash on the balance sheet right now. They should be in pretty good shape. And we'll also take a look at their numbers when they provide them later on. I think possibly next week or the following week, they're going to provide their Q2 financials, which will be really important to see how well they've paid down their debt. They had quite a bit of debt at the end of Q1. So we'll take a look at that as well here in a minute here. But let's see. Covered that. So Core Scientific will continue to sell self-mined Bitcoins to pay operating expenses, fund growth, retire debt, and maintain liquidity, which is good. Grid support, we talked about this. They turned off some of their miners for electricity curtailments in July, and that is it. So let's get into the data we have for them right now, and we'll call it a day, and we'll get into the other miners tomorrow. So here's Core Scientific. They got 325 million shares outstanding. Current stock price $2.91. Market cap is 948 million. Current hash rate for self-mining is 10.9 exahash. For hosting is 8.4 exahash. Total of 19.3 exahash combined. Future hash rate is going to be about, well, they're saying they're going to get another 60,000 at 100. So that's another 6 exahash. So that would get them to about 16.9 exahash based on that. So we'll have to see if there's something that got changed on that one. So they're about 63% operational, obviously, but they're growing their exahash so much more than anybody else is. They should be priced a little bit better than what they are currently at $2.91. And BTC HODL is obviously 1,205, valued at 27 million right now. HODL to market cap is 2.92%. Share is 8 cents per share. It's basically HODL on them. And here's what we got for the mining each month. And this is their revenue for it. So we're looking at a revenue of 28 million roughly, 28.4 million based on 1,221 Bitcoins mined. We do have a Bitcoins per petahash of 0.1120, which is obviously better than it was in June. So that's a good sign. It's less than what it was in May and less than in April. April looks like was possibly, no, actually March was their best month. Oh, gosh, January was their best month, 0.1436. That was their best month there for mining BTC per petahash. And like I said, it's 28.4 million in revenue roughly. Monthly difference of 115, 10% increase from last month, which is also good. And we can see here that they sold basically 1,975 Bitcoins for around 45,000 based on the price that I'm using for Bitcoin at the end of July, which is a little bit different than what they're providing, which is fine. So in total, they sold in the last 2 months roughly $211 million worth of Bitcoin in the last 2 months alone. That should obviously help pay down their debt. They did have quite a bit of it. Why don't we take a look at that right now, and then we'll get into the rest of it. So CORZ, if we look at it, here's CORZ right there. And this is what they had at the end of 3/31, which was at the end of March. They had quite a bit of debt on the books. At least current assets minus total liabilities was a negative 769 million. So current assets was 808. Total current liabilities was way over that, was 1.5 billion, right? Total current liabilities was 414 million. So if we take the total liabilities minus their current assets, total current assets, they were under by 769 million. So hopefully having paid down some of that stuff and then current assets increasing, they can obviously get this number to be a little bit better for their Q2 report. So that was obviously one thing that was concerning there. And that was the only thing that was really concerning there because the numbers here, current ratio was good, 1.9. They at least had enough to cover current liabilities. And debt to equity ratio was also a little bit higher there, 1.4, which is also something to be mindful of as well. All right. I wanted to go back to Core. All right. So we know what they've mined, obviously. Here's what we did for the miners. For July, we added 6,000 of these 100 terahash miners that added in there for 20 days. All the other miners were mining basically for 26.5 days. We know that they had the curtailment. Let me see if I can zoom this in, maybe a little bit, make it a little bit bigger for you guys. And that got us to about 28.4, almost 28.46 million in revenue with obviously 10.9 exahash right now. So that was good. The other thing that was really good actually was the institutions. So institutions increased by 23 to 140. Shares also increased to 39.63 million from 28.04 million, which is obviously a good sign as well. And percentage owned has increased to 12.16 from 11.73 from July. We did get one more buy rating, so we now have 2 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, 0 holds, 0 performs, 0 sells. Price target stayed at 15 for the high. Average went down a little bit to 818, and the low stayed the same at 310 right now. So, I mean, we're pretty close to the low right now. We're with what are we at? 291. We're pretty close to that right now. So based on what we see here, the revenue for the last 3 quarters, or current quarters, is going to be about 93 million if everything stays the same. We're obviously in August. August is going to get another increase. If they're going to be increasing their petahash by, or exahash by 6 exahash by the end of the year, they need to get 1.2 exahash installed every month, roughly. So that might be a huge jump, obviously, in the revenue for August and September, obviously, as well. So they could be back up to above 100 million, possibly, if not more, depending where Bitcoin goes, right? Bitcoin goes up, we're going to be sitting pretty, but if Bitcoin goes down, we're going to be, obviously, in not such a good place. So that's obviously just a guide right now. That is going to be, it's a variable right now. It's going to change depending on where Bitcoin goes, how many miners they get installed in August and September. In June, we were obviously, or the second quarter, we're looking at about 101 million revenue just from their self-mining. That doesn't include any of their hosting mining, the revenue that they're getting from that, any sales, anything else that they do over there. This is just strictly, I'm looking just strictly at self-mining here for them. And with all that information we have here, for their self-mining, I'm looking at a combined last 3 quarters plus this current quarter of about 395 million in revenue just from self-mining. If we use the 50% net income from gross revenue on this, we're looking at, just with self-mining, the stock price should be around $12.14 with a PE ratio of 20. And if we're using the 75% net income from gross revenue, the stock price should be around $18.22, which is kind of in line with what they're showing us. Well, 15, obviously a little bit higher there, but $12 to $18.22 if we're using the 20. But they're going so much, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin starts going back up in price, that they could get a 25 to even so a 25 be a $15 to a $22 price on the stock, and this is just for their mining. And if it goes up to 30, you're looking at 18 to 27. Obviously, if there's any gains from hosting, selling of equipment as well, that's also going to add to the overall number that they are at, which should also help increase the price. So this is pretty conservative, I think, as far as where they could get. But going back down to 20, I think 20 is definitely achievable, but it all depends on the market. It all depends on Bitcoin, where Bitcoin goes from here. So we'll have to see. But they still have, obviously, a lot of miners to get installed. Let me see, we are now here, 6,000. Let's see what we got. I got 63,000 miners left to install, so we're pretty close to that. So somewhere in here, we are off on 3,180 miners, roughly. Based on what they're telling us, they're going to be at 60,000 left. So isn't too bad, not too much. So it's basically 300 petahash that we're off on it. So we'll see if we can get that cleared up by the time we get to the end of the year sometime. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, if you found this useful, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. And like I said, we'll do Argo Hive and Argo Hive Hut 8 is the other one. We'll do those tomorrow. I'll probably just do a video on each one of those separately, and that way you guys can take a look at the ones you want. And that's it. If you enjoyed it, like I said, hit the like button. That's it. Spreadsheet is always available to my Patreon members. Thank you to those guys and gals over there for their support. It means a lot to me. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow. There'll be a lot of videos coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned. Until then,